What about in a sport competition? Let's think about because I think this is fascinating stuff. Let's say that a college team, whatever sport, they want to really focus on their conference tournament. They want to win their conference tournament. Baseball, tennis, soccer, volleyball, whatever it is, basketball. They want to win their conference tournament. How would you prepare your team to get ready to be their bring their best self on that long weekend of the conference tournament, whatever the sport is? How would you prepare your team? Because that's very different than preparing the matches in 1 hour. The match is 5 months away, 6 months away, or the matches or games.
Yeah. We
It's
all,
like the Olympics. It's like the Olympics.
yeah, we all have a natural tendency to put pressure on ourselves and demands that I have to do this. I need to do this. This must happen. So the last thing I'm going to do as a coach, as a leader, is use those words. They're already there.
Hmm.
What I'm going to continue to focus on is let's see what happens when we insert strategy, insert tactic, insert gameplay. Let's see what happens when we do this to an athlete. Let's see what happens when you give her or him a tactical execution. The words have to, must, and demand, which I do think is a contributor to that paralysis of analysis.
Hmm.
What that does in our bodies, mind and body, is contracts everything. Everything gets really tight, everything gets really tense, and that doesn't help fluidity. That doesn't help you do that doesn't help you perform the way you've been training. That doesn't help you execute the skills you've been training your body to execute. It just
Hmm.
contracts everything. Let's see what happens when we insert something specific, tactical, technical, strategic. Now, what you're doing is you're allowing your body to be more, the word every athlete likes to hear, free.
Hmm. My biggest fear on things like that, you're spot on. I agree with you 100%. My biggest fear is when a leader in a business puts pressure on someone that they've got to deliver in 2 months, or a coach says we've got to win the tournament in 3 months or 6 months, and suddenly it's like the tournament starts approaching, and you can see everybody just you can see everybody starting to get tight, everybody because they haven't prepared the right way for this quote unquote big event. Um, and I see that so much. I see that so much. I see it in business. I see it in sport.
The must, it's the same thing as failure isn't an option. All it does is make you think about what if it doesn't go right?
Correct. Yeah, it's just yeah, the brain again, you've people have heard me say this before, the brain is not our best friend when we get in situations like this because we overthink, we rationalize and we circle the wagons and then we get in trouble.
There are, because I don't want to completely shut out, there are some athletes who do have, and maybe it's with experience or whatnot, although I just don't know that it's sustainable. However, I'm open-minded. There are
Yeah.
some athletes who can use the got to, must, have to. They do have the capacity to use that as a mechanism to tune into the work. So I don't want to completely shut it down.
Yeah.
I just know more often than not, it contracts us more than it allows us to express.
I agree with that 100%. I've met individuals who the whole gotta it's almost like they flip it around though. They almost go, you're not winning today. You do realize that, don't you? I mean, it's almost like that kind
Yeah.
of an attitude.
Yeah.
You do realize you're not winning today. I mean, it's almost like they take that gotta and they flip it around and in their own it's like a threat and then they're going to fight like crazy, that fight or flight, but they're going to fight to win, and that's what starts to happen. We've all seen that.
I think you just nailed it. They turn the threat into a challenge.
Yes, exactly.
And that's what happens when you're able to use those words must, need, have to. They turn the threat into a challenge. I think Michael Jordan is probably one of the greatest examples of that.
100%. And I think, we've seen it in the with the World Cup, recently in the United States, we see it all the time that if the threat continues, you struggle. But if you can turn the threat into a challenge where, I mean, it just flips everything. It flips the script. when it's a challenge versus a threat.
Right.
I
So
think that's huge. That's
yeah.
a huge takeaway for our listeners.
Yeah, that is a high level skill. So without having developed that skill yet, I like the let's see what happens when and start getting your brain to start training your brain to go from perception to orienting yourself to making a decision to taking commitment and then action instead of this comparison and decision making and prediction like that we want to stay clear, that we want to stay away from.
And for those people that think they've done it once or twice in their life, that doesn't mean you've got the skill acquired. That means you were kind of lucky. So make sure you keep training in with what Haley's talking about, because I can't tell you how many times I've run into people, oh, I've done that. Yeah, 20 years ago. Yeah, okay, understood. You've done it once. That doesn't mean you've got the skill. So it is a skill to acquire for sure.